Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Weekly Poor Report. For those of you that are just joining us, we are a one-stop shop for all things Legends of Runeterra. As always, I'm Smith, along with my co-host Kozer. And before we get too much into the show here, we just want to again, understanding everything's kind of going on in the world with the coronavirus and everything like that. We're hoping everybody's staying home, staying safe, staying healthy, all that good stuff. If you are affected, our best wishes to you, and hopefully you get through it. Also, before we get into the fun of this week, we want to apologize for anybody that caught us last week on Twitch. We did have some technical problems. We got about an hour and a half through the show before Kozer's internet gave out, and with again everything going on, it made it impossible to get a reschedule. So we just kind of nixed the show. But again, if you have a chance, go check out Surgation. He was definitely giving us some great insight before the show went dead.
We will be having him back. We will be having him back.
100%.
I don't know when it will be in the future, but we will be having him back.
But so with that out of the way, I mean, we do have an awesome guest this week. We do have Naidai. So Naidai, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing all right. How about you?
Great. And again, we appreciate you coming to the show, being willing to record with us, get this podcast off the ground here for the week and get us caught back up from missing last week,
Yeah.
So we're definitely excited and happy you're here.
I'm very excited to be here as well.
Awesome.
I'm looking forward to this all week.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because, I consider us small fries compared to people like you. So, that's always good to hear. So, why don't you give us a little bit of background of, who you are and what you do here?
I'm a Legends of Runeterra streamer. I didn't even really start streaming to Legends of Runeterra. Just kind of meets my PC requirements, and it's like, as far as card games go, it's a fantastic game to play, and it just got like so many different layers compared to a lot of other slower paced strategic games.
Mm-hmm. Now you say you didn't really start streaming until Runeterra and this kind of compared to other card games. What other card games did kind of you play? Like, what's your history with like collectible card games or trading card games as a whole?
Well, I mean, as a kid growing up, I got into the whole Pokemon, the Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yep.
Throughout high school, I got into Magic a little bit, but I didn't really start playing competitively till Hearthstone. I got into Hearthstone a couple seasons, and hit Legends a couple times, and played in a lot of the minor tournaments and stuff. Never got too deep into it, but
hey, that's better than us. I think me and Koza were talking. I hit Legend once, and that was enough for me. I said, okay, I'm ready to kind of move out that way.
It's just hard to keep up with being like pay to play now.
Oh yeah, it's one of those things, and I was just telling Kozer this week too, that I'm happy TFT came out on mobile, because until Runeterra gets out there, it gave me a reason to delete Hearthstone, because I did do a little bit of Battlegrounds, but it was like one of those things like, I hate that I have to play this, but it's the best option I have for this type of game.
Yeah, Legends of Runeterra coming out of mobile is going to be a big deal.
Oh
yeah, it's going to be awesome. I think it's going to bring a lot of people in too. It's going to be huge.
Yeah,
especially in China.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, it's so perfectly designed, at least match length, except for Kozer's 140-minute Karma game or whatever you were running into.
Oh, it was an hour long. It was an hour.
Yeah, I mean,
horrible.
The matches you can get through pretty quick, which is nice. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of great. So I mean, it's one of those things that I'm hoping it's sooner rather than later. I mean, I keep joking. I keep messaging Umbridge on Twitter saying like, hey, everybody's kind of locked up. Why don't we just push this along a little bit faster? Try to get this mobile out. Which I'm sure I'm not the only one asking it, but
they're ready for it. But it's like the phone right now is actually a patch behind, so it's like basically like playing like Minecraft PC compared to mobile or anything else. Like those are always like 2 or 3 patches behind, and I mean that's all right to play like that, but it's kind of hard. Like you have to know the old meta to basically play it, which a lot of our guys here that are masters or stuff like that, like yeah, they won't struggle, but some new players might have a little hard time finding, like if they follow Swim shit, like his meta report, and then they're playing on mobile, like they're going to be a week behind. Some of the meta might just not match up, so then you'll end up building a whole deck that's not even relevant.
And it wouldn't be the same accounts, right? I feel like a big thing that they're aiming for is having it, your PC account's the same as your mobile account.
Yeah, which you kind of have to. I mean, games that aren't that way, it's it drives me nuts.
Oh yeah, it is like that right now. Like you have a Riot sign in or either a Google sign in. So it's your choice. If you're an idiot and don't sign into your Riot account, well, I guess you're gonna have 2 different accounts. But if you do have a Riot account, it will match over. And honestly, even if you make a Google account, I bet you anything, you'll be able to link it to a Riot account at some point.
That's what I was about to say. Is I wonder if people that just come to the game whenever it comes to mobile, because they do the same thing with TFTs. You can log in with a Google account, or I assume if you're on an iPhone, an Apple account or something. But you can do Riot or Google, and I've always wondered, like, what if you just start playing TFT on PC after coming to it from mobile? Can you still link and still tie in?
Probably. I haven't tried it because I have a Riot account already, so I didn't do that. But I'm pretty sure you can.
Chances are you're just gonna have to link your Riot account to your Google account through the mobile, and then it'll just effectively be the same account.
Yeah, that'd be nice. But don't mean to kind of keep taking away from you and kind of your background. I get easily distracted, so by all means, pull me back.
Shiny colors, anything. But it doesn't take a lot.
It's true. It's very true. So you also participate in like kind of tournaments. I understand because you got a lot on your plate. Having a streaming tournaments. I understand you have a newborn, and if so, congrats. I have 2 of my own, so I understand how time consuming that can get.
Yeah, he was actually born January 28th, right before, or is that it's like a week after Legends of Runeterra was released.
Oh,
like I was actually pretty well ahead in the climb for being like the first person in Masters, but then son was born, so took some time off, and
yeah, I remember you were one of the first. Weren't you one of the first 20 in NA?
Yeah, I was one of the first 20 Masters players after my son was born, and I was the very first person to hit Diamond.
Nice.
Yeah, I remember that because you were racing
awesome.
with like Gummy, Casanova. They were always playing against you guys. Like
I
they
played
were like
Gatekeeper a lot to them.
yeah, that Casa complained about that a little bit too.
That was back when I was just like doing nothing but Fiora control.
Yeah, well. It works. You're a Fiora player. You're known as a Fiora player, like 100%.
Kind of my MO.
Yeah, like no one else still plays that. But I mean, right now she's not in the greatest spot compared to the current meta. But yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that later on, anyways.
There is something in the like you guys had asked about my card background, and there's kind of a bridge like between Hearthstone and Legends of Runeterra when it came to competitive games, I guess. Is I got really big into poker, actually.
Oh, really?
I was living in Nevada for a few years, and I was actually a poker dealer out there. And
awesome.
played a lot in my off time. And I'd like to think I'm a really proficient poker player.
It's funny because you're not the first person to say that to us. So I can't remember if it was Gummy or Kaz.
It was Astro.
Astrogation.
Yeah, it was Astro.
Last week literally just said the same thing as he said he actually played a lot of poker.
It's not unheard of. I know a lot of guys. I actually played Diablo 3 with a buddy that was a professional poker player before he just, got a normal job and just decided it wasn't his thing anymore. That's what he did for a profession. He did a little bit of online poker, but he actually went to like poker events and stuff and like competed.
Oh yeah, I was all over that.
It's just funny, like the common threads you kind of hear among like good players of like.
There's a lot of transferable skills in 100%. This card game compared to like other card games. Like I feel like bluffing in this game is such a relevant skill set.
Oh, it's huge.
Very much so.
Keeping the mana up, not even having to deny.
Yeah, like I can't imagine. I can't tell you how many times I've made it through difficult mid-game situations just by holding on to 8 mana with Fiora.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even have judgment. Just holding the 8 mana. They're just like, okay, I'm only gonna attack with like 2 things because I don't want to lose the game.
Well, and that
allows me to survive that turn.
And that's the thing, is that's a huge thing. Like, I mean, there's people like Gummy and Bagels. What they've always taught me is basically, well, if they have it, they have it. So when you play against them and you bluff, man, they'll call your bluff a lot of the time. They'll just fucking play, and then you will have the judgment, and then they'll cry and surrender.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you got to make them have it. You got to recognize whether or not you can actually play around it. Like, can I win if he has this card? And sometimes the answer is just no, and you got to go for it.
Yeah, you got to take your chance. If you don't go for it, then you're going to lose in the next couple of turns anyways.
And so apart from, you sit there say Fiora's not a great spot and you love playing Fiora, what else about, Runeterra do you like or dislike in its current stage? Understanding it's still in beta, Is there anything you'd like to change about it? Anything that you love or kind of hope that they expand upon?
The thing that I love the most is the ability to outplay in this game. Like, there's reactive plays in this, like more so than other card games, where generally in like another card game, a reactive play is they play a minion and you play a removal spell.
Mm-hmm.
In this game, it just goes so many different layers beyond that. You could play a removal spell, then they can play a protective spell. Then you have to
Mm-hmm.
play either another removal spell or a counter to that protective spell. And there's just a lot of different layers. And I love decks that can really, I guess, emphasize that aspect of the card game. Like
Yeah.
more control decks where they have multiple answers, they have multiple layers of play to them.
So what you're
That's the
saying is
part I love the
ogres are
most about
like
the game.
onions? They have layers?
Yes, ogres are like
God.
Runeterra is
Oh
like an onion,
God.
It has lots of
and I love
layers.
my onions.
No, yeah, no, it's huge. You're so right about that. You're so right. It's just even knowing when to bait out. Okay, well, if he protects, well, now he just wasted that protection, and I don't even care because I only used a two mana single combat, and I still got another one in hand, so I'll be okay. But
And
it's just crazy. It is.
it's not an unimpactful thing either, though. Like, it's not just like, okay, I win this, I get a slight value advantage now. No, usually, like, winning big chains like that, like you win a multiple card chain and you come out ahead on that, it's usually game ending. You usually just win the game off of a small outplay like that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and I've talked about this in previous episodes, but I think that's kind of the thing that I love about it as well. The most is that in things like Hearthstone, it does feel a lot slower because, like you said, it's okay. It's my turn. Now it's your turn. Now it's my turn. Now it's your turn. Whereas this, it's even when it's not your attack. The round's not your attack round. You still are just as involved and as engaged as your opponent is, and to me that is such a welcome change and nice mix up to how it's been done in the past. That's kind of what grabbed me.
Another thing along those lines of things that I really enjoy about the game is the spell mana. Like, the spell mana adds like, it adds more to those layers that I was talking about, and more importantly, it kind of construes the game into like a mid-range kind of focus. Like,
Mm-hmm.
even aggro decks are kind of tuned towards being a little more mid-rangey. Control decks are tuned to being a little more mid-rangey, and it really kind of like shortens the game time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or
Mm-hmm.
it kind of like condenses the game time so that you're generally not in those 40-minute, hour-long spooky karma mirrors, but
Yeah.
it kind of gives you an expected time to be able to invest in games, and like even just kind of trying to grind hard with a control deck, that games tend to go a lot shorter than most other card games would.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it is kind of a nice change. I mean, it feels good, but
What do you
so
hate?
yeah.
What do you?
Uh, aside from elusives,
uh, well, yeah. I mean, that goes like that's the unspoken rule.
They
Nobody
have
loves
been nerfed
elusives unless you're
into
playing
an
them.
all right spot. Like, I mean,
uh,
They're still a pain in the ass to play
they're a
against. I
pain
mean,
in the
you
ass,
can
but
nerf them. It just I don't. It's to me, it's the face hunter of the game. Of like you
but
come up against face hunter and Hearthstone, and you're like, I hate this. There's workarounds. It's just not fun.
But yeah, but think about Magic. Magic's had fly in it for how many years, and like people still have to learn how to play around that. Like,
Yeah.
there are ways to counter elusives, and it's not impossible to counter
No.
it. Like
No.
Bannerman, I think has a good win rate against it. I can't remember.
I mean, you got enough challenger units in Bannerman that
yeah, I mean,
It's
Bannerman's
like,
pretty contested about it, but that's just because right now Bannerman's just it's almost a tier 0 deck.
Mhm.
yeah, it's ridiculous. Like, I actually climbed a diamond with using elusives, which was kind of surprising. I was actually beating most Bannerman decks. It just depends on how you play and if you get your right cards. If you're not getting Omen Hawks and
Mhm.
Yeah, I tell this to people on my like a lot of times they'll get the question is like, how can I climb through diamond or how can I climb through platinum? And like when you get to those higher levels, it's really not about the deck anymore. It's about the play. It's about
Mhm.
understanding your deck and understanding the matchup. And it's the little things that are gonna get you through diamond. It's not that the deck's not gonna carry you.
Mhm.
yeah, it's so true. I have so much to add on to that when we do my weekly recap. Because, yeah, I can tell you exactly everything I was doing wrong with why I wasn't climbing out of plat. But so I guess we'll do the next part. We do our weekly recap. We basically ask you what you've been up to this week, Naidai. How's your week been? How's been streaming? Anything exciting outside your real world life?
So that I can actually tie perfectly into one of the other things that I kind of dislike about the game right now, or that I'd like to see some changes, is like right now, like with the patches have been fairly unimpactful, I guess.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like the patches have been a lot smaller than I had been anticipating or hoping for,
Yeah.
and not really shaking up the game too much. So as far as like how things are going, like the game's kind of in a very samey kind of state as
Mm-hmm.
it was, 3, 4 weeks ago, and
Yeah.
not a lot has changed despite, there only being like monthly balance patches. They felt kind of light so far.
Yeah,
Uh,
and part of me gets that, but part of me like hates it as well because on one side of the coin, you sit there and can say, okay, they want to be cautious and they want to not break anything or shift it in such a way that it almost seems like a mistake or they have to do like a hot fix. The part of me also sits there and says, it's open beta. If there's a time to be a little brave and make those mistakes, it's now. You
that's
know
my
what I
thoughts
mean?
exactly. Yeah.
If you sit there and you super nerf Hecarim and you sit there and come back to me next week and say, look, we made a mistake. We nerfed him to the ground, but we wanted to see how it affected play rates during beta. That's fine in my mind.
Oh, I don't think they're reverting that. I think they're okay with where Hecarim is right now.
No. What I'm saying
I know what
is
you're saying.
if they super nerfed him, you know what I mean? Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think they have a problem with where he's at now.
Yeah, I feel like the Hecarim nerfs were fine. It was just kind of the rest of the patch that was
Black
meh.
Spear, 3
Yeah.
mana. Like a lot of
Yeah, like
SI is just not really strong right now, and it
and that
was
also actually hurt Fiora in the long run, is because SI was one of Fiora's strongest matchups, and it
Yeah.
got deleted.
Yeah.
yeah.
Lots of weak units you could just take out pretty easy. But yeah, so I mean, I hate to cut you off there, but like, so you were saying that the patch change was
Yeah,
something
it's a
you
little.
didn't like and was playing into your week.
Yeah, it was a little lackluster. Like I feel like if I didn't discover the Karma Ezreal deck, I'd probably be in a pretty bad spot right now with trying to force Fiora to work or not being able to find any other decks that I really enjoyed playing. But yeah, I mean, as far as streaming goes, I'm doing well. Like it's still fun. Like the game's still definitely really enjoyable, and I enjoy my time in it and enjoy my viewerships. And I feel like my viewers are still getting a lot of information out of my streams.
Mm-hmm.
And overall, it feels good.
Yeah, you
Outside
do.
of, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt, but you do really well with viewers, especially for someone that doesn't use a webcam. Like that's a lot of streamers when you're asking how do you become a big streamer, and that's actually one of the number one things that they usually say. They usually say, well, get a webcam, be personable, blah blah blah, all that stuff, and you're pulling in usually 100 plus views every stream. Is that due to a lot of hosts? Do you just have a good fan base? You're not
I
sure.
feel like I feel like it's the decks that I play, honestly. Like especially a lot of my original viewership came from when I was playing Fear Control, and it's just a fun deck to watch.
Yeah, it
Like
is.
the gameplay's fun. I feel like me explaining my lines, and it's a difficult to pilot deck, so people come to learn a lot. They come for the entertainment value of the
Mm-hmm.
big swingy turns, and I just play those decks that are fun to watch. I play the Control Fiora. I play Karma Lux with Dawn and Dusk.
Mm-hmm.
That's a key point. And the Karma Ezreal, and they're just decks that are just difficult to pilot. People learn a lot from watching them, and they're just fun to play. They suit my playstyle. So it's just a good match between me and Legends of Runeterra. The decks that I really enjoy playing are the decks that just are really fun to watch and really difficult to pilot.
Yeah, yeah, and it's interesting. The one thing that you said too was that you think people come to because they are difficult to pilot and you can learn and things like that. Is I know whenever I'm trying to pick a streamer or somebody to watch, I very much prefer a streamer that's talking through what's going on in their mind or they're talking about why they're making plays. They're not just playing cards, listening to music on the side, and just talking with the chat. I understand participating in chat's a big thing, but I'm more interested personally in like, hey, what's going on in your mind? Why did you make this player? What did you see coming? And how can I get in that mindset? So I think that's kind of a big point. And, especially like Koza was saying, is if people don't have a webcam and you're drawing in that kind of viewership, it's letting them know like, hey, look, there's a lot to learn here. There's stuff I can get that is above and beyond the social aspect of it.
And that face revealed, though. Once you do that,
well, I mean, I have my face in my profile, so
true.
It's not
Okay,
that
that's true. Like Dizzy did that. He's Apex streamer, Apex Legends, and when he did a face reveal, it was actually huge because he's been a big first-person shooter in the competitive scene for a while, and no one really knew what he looked like except for at events because he never really posted pictures or anything like that. When he did a face reveal, it was massive.
Big deal.
Oh yeah, it was massive. It was huge.
But yeah, I definitely feel like a webcam's important. That's kind of why I'm working towards getting one. I'm running a bit of a webcam fund on my stream to support that.
Well, all of our viewers, if you watch Naidai, give them some money for webcam. Come on now, hook them up, bro.
Get the big face reveal. But yeah, but so I mean, any other major happenings for the
my state went on lockdown officially.
Yeah. Oh, hey. We're not full state, but we're 10 counties, and I live in one of them, so I know that feeling.
My state's officially on full lockdown, so I got a pain in the ass of a new son. He's kind of getting to the point where he gets fussy a lot.
Yep, I get that. I mean, it's one of those things that I was telling Kozers, like working from home and having kids and things like that is tough. But
dude, it sounds easy. What are you guys complaining about? Come on now.
I mean, I'll just ship them to you in Canada and
yeah, I'll take care of them. They'll be fine. I'll give them all the candy they want. They won't sleep all night. I won't sleep all night. It's going to be wonderful. And I'll ship them back to you, and then you'll even hate me even more. So
that would be the end of the show. If you just them back. I'd be like, we're done.
Yeah, no.
Awesome.
Yeah, I do have to say that you guys are awesome for being able to do what you do. Like when me and Smithel even originally talked about doing a show, I'm not going to lie and say I was a little weary about if he was going to actually, knowing him for as long as I did from the Heroes of the Storm scene, knowing how little extra time he always had when he had one kid, and then he had the second, I was like, dude, I don't know, we'll see. And then no, it's been solid. Other than my internet giving out last week, we've been on schedule. It's been going well. So
that's why we're saying this needs to come to mobile. I mean, and
it's gonna make a huge difference.
When you're trying to put the kid to sleep in a crib and you're just sitting there, it's like, oh, I could be cranking out like 3 or 4 games just like
you could be cranking 90s on Fortnite mobile if you want.
Oh, God.
Fucking cranking 90s.
I will say my TFT game's gone through the roof because mobile game of choice. This needs to get to mobile. It needs to get there.
Yeah,
I definitely gotta give a big shout out to mommy for taking care of the kid and allowing me to stream and do what I do.
Yeah, it's huge, man. Moms are usually the MVPs, right? The wife.
Oh yeah,
always.
The wife, the girlfriends, they're always the MVPs.
Life,
yeah, behind every successful man, there's a pissed off woman.
Yeah,
hey, we heard her. We
heard her. That's awesome.
But so Kozer, I know you had a big week this week too.
Well,
so what happened with you?
So I've talked about it mildly last week, but then we got kind of cut off. So I did coaching with Allnewbagels. So he's a homie from the Masters Discord and through the friend group of like Gummy, Swim, Casa. That's basically how I met Bagels. So with Bagels, he sat there, watched my gameplay, and I actually recorded a full series from me going from plat to diamond to try to help players that are stuck, because I was stuck. I was hard stuck, and I'm sitting here blaming it on, oh, well, I didn't get the right RNG, or I didn't do this, and then little did I figure out very quickly that, no, it's because you fucking suck, and you were making big mistakes that were literally costing you the game. And I did learn quite a bit from Bagels on how to make proper thought process when you play cards, when you don't play cards, learning your matchup, learning your mulligans. I played Bannerman, I played elusives, played a burn aggro deck, and there was One other deck, but I can't remember it now. I think it was just elusives again, but we just changed like one other thing. So I basically played like 3 or 4 decks. We would rock at night, and I slowly climbed up. And I'll be releasing a series. I'm going to be clipping out some of the videos that I want. I'm not going to post every single game because sometimes we just shoot the crap, or I get interrupted by my girlfriend halfway through, or I'm just distracted. So I will be doing voiceovers of some of the things, just going with a little bit more explanation with Bagel's help on just explaining to the viewer so they understand what mistake and what thought process needed to be thought about before we made a play. And we're going to be showing some of the big mistakes too, because there was literally a game that I got gatekeeped out of getting into Diamond 2 games before I hit Diamond that we did not play around, and we should have made a block, and we didn't. And it cost us the game because it was an Ezreal, and he got exactly what he wanted. He literally top decked every single thing that he needed. He played Corona. What's her name? Karina, Corona, whatever, same thing. And he pulled out 4 spells that did 4 damage, and it literally cleared my whole board. So because of that, I lost the game basically, because we didn't block her when we needed to. Like, we needed to do a block. Or, no, it wasn't that. It was after that. We needed to block her, and we didn't. And then I took 6 damage to the face, and just couldn't recover because he had every answer in his hand. He literally top-decked a Mystic Shot, and we lost the game. Felt super bad.
Sometimes it happens.
Yeah, it's... but that's the thing is, like we were talking about, is hindsight, Hindsight's there. Oh, yeah, we're just gonna do this. We're gonna win the game. It's gonna be super easy, and then we make a mistake, and then it's like, well, okay, we should have done this instead. Yeah, for the future we'll think about that, but in the moment sometimes you're gonna make the mistake, and it's the one thing I did learn was not to tilt. Yeah, that was
tilt control is something
huge,
very, very important that you learn playing poker.
Yes, we got off at one point one night. We only recorded for an hour because we just went on like 3. We would win 1 and then like lose 2 or 3, and we just didn't have a good win percentage that night. Bagels had other stuff to do, and he's like, hey man, it's getting kind of late. We want to just call it a night. You're still in plat 1, so I mean, we didn't have a complete crap night, but I can tell you're getting tilted and I'm getting tilted, so let's just call it a night. And that's what you have to do.
There's an actual...
Sorry.
Oh, sorry, good.
There's something I want to mention about that whole Karina play that you were talking about. How he top decked like the perfect answer, and you got punished super hard. There's times like that where looking back and you're like, okay, maybe I should have played around exactly this, but sometimes you still make the correct play. You're like, if he top decks Mystic Shot, I lose, right?
Yeah, you lose the game. It's gonna happen.
It still could be the correct play. Not playing around the top deck Mystic Shot. It's usually actually the correct play. Playing around the top deck Mystic Shot.
He literally had everything. He had like every single answer. He had Draven Axes and literally just had enough to kill me. I think I died with -1 because
it's crazy how often like Ezreal Draven ends up being able to kill you with exactly what's in his hand.
Yeah. Wasn't expecting it. When he gave me the whole Shen emoji, I was like, oh fuck. Really? You top decked, bro? Are you kidding me right now? And sure enough, he did. I thought maybe he was trolling me or telling me good game because I won, and then he completed to win. And then it's all good. I lost that game, then won my next 2 and got into Diamond. So whatever. That was my week. It was awesome. Super happy about that. Excited to start posting this series. Hoping to get my first video out next week. I have like 15 hours of footage to go through. God knows how many games. I might try to put 3 games into each video, and it's going to be a lot of work. So I don't know when it's going to start coming out, but I'm hoping to have my first video next week.
I was going to say, the big question, though, is if you come up with a name for the series.
Oh, probably just Plat to Diamond. I don't know. I don't have anything creative for it.
We got to get more creative than that, man.
Well, you usually come up with the names for the podcast, so maybe I'll hit you up for that. I also need to get a thumbnail, and I don't know. I'm going to put some trolly stuff because Bagels likes to make some meme music right now about cutting nucks and not using sharks. So I think I might put some of those in the thumbnail. Pictures of sharks and nucks and stuff like that.
Awesome. Well, I mean, on my side, I mean, it wasn't as eventful, I think, as you guys. Obviously, I didn't get to Diamond or anything like that. Yeah, I haven't started a series, but
You're a diamond in my heart. Just remember that.
That's all that matters to me. But I mean, it's one of those things that I'm sure we're getting into. It's kind of a frustrating week for me because again, with time being as limited as it was, I kept getting this like invite not found error whenever I would try to play, and it was frustrating because like you'd see like the little reconnecting thing in the bottom right corner, and it wouldn't let you like click like the OK or anything to get away from it for a good 30-40 seconds. And it would take 5 or 6 times for that to go away. And then even sometimes then it would just kick me out. So, I mean...
You weren't patient enough. It always let me in after I took long enough. I told you this. They'll fix it. But yeah, it is frustrating.
And I'm sure they will. It was just like I said, with like kind of being on lockdown and things like that going on right now, I was like, oh, so the last thing I need to deal with is this like invite error thing. But I did get a little bit of playing in. I got my vault, all that kind of good stuff done to where I needed it to be. But the one thing I tried this week, just out of curiosity, is like, so last week we mentioned that I finally completed all the champions. So I have every champion that's currently out right now.
Congratulations.
Yeah. And the one thing that I was curious about is what would happen with the expedition guaranteed champion. So what I did is I was like, oh, maybe it'll just give me a wild card and I can start banking and hoarding those for whenever the next
mofo.
Unlocks, and then I'd be okay. So I went into expedition. I'm like, I'm going to pull a Kozer. I'm just going to auto forfeit and just get my wild card or get like 3,000 shards and just save up. And so I auto forfeit, and all I get is 750 shards. And I was so disappointed. I'm like, I could have played this out. I could have gotten cards. I could have gotten enough shards between playing to make a champion. But yeah, in my mind, I was like, I'm at least going to get 3,000 shards, which is the equivalent to a champion.
It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
I could have told you that. I wish you would have asked me or said something, because I found that out a couple weeks ago when I opened up a vault and got a matching card, and I was like, wait, 750 shards? What the hell? And then I realized at the end, someone explained it to me. They were like, do you think it's really that fair that you get 3,000 to get a match? And it's like, yes and no. Like, this game does a lot. Like, we're going to talk about it, but this game does a lot for... You never feel like you don't have any cards. You never feel like... Yeah, the first week of play, yes, you feel like you have nothing. But after 2-3 weeks, and with one of the biggest thing in the patch notes getting lifted, like, it's going to be huge. Like, you're going to be able to walk into the game, come from Hearthstone being a pro there, and literally just buy everything. And buy exactly what you want, which I don't know if that's great for the game or not. It's going to be rough for your first couple of games if this is your first time to a card game, so don't give up after just your first couple of games playing against guys that have fully made decks, and they're clearly ex-Hearthstone pros. But after that, you'll start playing against people at your MMR.
It'll happen. Yeah, but I mean, so that was a big thing. I mean, I'm still playing a Kalista deck. It's not meta by any means, but because I'm still kind of sitting where I was in gold, I'm still very much in the I'm playing for fun mode because I can't drop back to silver. So if I'm going 50%, that's fine by me. I'm okay not climbing at this point.
Gotta get you out of gold, though. Gotta at least help you.
I know I could. If I literally sat down and just said, look, I'm picking a deck and I'm grinding, I know I'd hit plat, But I'm more like, oh, wait, Swim released this deck? Let me try it. Bagels came out with something, or Cass came out with something. Like I think Gummy on Twitter was like, I'm going to make a Poro deck. And I'm like, yeah, make a Poro deck. I want to try a Poro deck.
And then he tweeted 13 hours later saying he wasn't making a Poro.
Yeah.
Well, Bagels was already queuing up the non-copyrighted music, getting ready to make a new song for cutting Poros as well. So, but I mean, that got shut down real quick.
That's kind of the mindset I'm in right now. It's like if I see something and it looks interesting and I just want to get on it and just understand how it plays, that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm thinking when this I don't know, when it probably comes out to full release, which I imagine we're probably 2 patches away from, if I had to guess, because they kind of said what's happening on the 31st.
But, are you including this patch? That patch estimate? I'm saying, like, including this upcoming patch, I'd say 2 to 4.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying, is including it maybe 2. I'm being cautiously optimistic.
Yeah.
I've also been the one that's been saying this last patch was going to be a new region release, so I'm notoriously wrong. But
I thought it was going to be a big patch. I didn't think it was going to be a new region, but I thought it was going to be a lot bigger than it was.
Well, I kept saying, like, I'm like, hey, look, their timeline was region, patch, region. So I'm like, we're on region patch. They're not going to mess this up right now. And it wasn't. And so I was a little heartbroken, but it didn't surprise me.
But with all the leaks, it's getting ever so close.
We know it's coming. I mean, there's voice lines, all kind of stuff like leaking out.
Dude.
So.
Yeah. It's definitely coming. It's definitely coming.
Yeah, so I'm banking that there's going to be this one coming up and then one more. But let's talk about the one coming up here. So obviously they released, it wasn't an official patch note per se. It was more like a letter and I forget. Hold on, I have it
adding more agency to progression. That's what they called it. They didn't really call it a patch because it's not an official patch yet.
Yeah, it was done by their senior writer Dyquill, Dyquill. And basically what it is it said, hey, look, here's a little bit more from what Umbridge put out before and where we're going to be going. We just want to give you the heads up. And we're going to talk a lot more about this when it actually goes live. But, some of the big changes that are happening, and it's going to go live on the 31st. It's going to be patch 0.9.3. Is there's going to be big changes to the vault rewards. So previously, if everybody knows, you get your champion token at 10, you're going to now get it or your expedition token at 10, I'm sorry. You're now going to get it at 2. And they're also going to kind of take away the guaranteed champion from expeditions. And instead, when you get to your level 5 vault, you're going to get a random champion card. So they're kind of just shifting that around. And then if you hit level 10, you're going to get a champion wild card as well. So it's every week you're going to get multiple chances at champions that you want and then random champions, which is kind of nice. You can also level up past 13 now for your vaults. And correct me, did that take effect now, Kozer?
What? Sorry? I was
typing. Leveling your vault past 13?
No. That comes on 0.9.3, which is like goes back into the thing that if you are a new player in this game, just grind it. Just seriously grind it. You'll unlock more capsules, you'll get more cards and everything, and hope for some champion upgrades.
I knew the XP boost part, which we're getting to, was right away, but I wasn't sure.
Nothing's right away. Nothing.
Really? I thought
nothing.
The XP boost level was.
Nope. Nothing here has happened live yet. It will come on the 31st.
Okay, good. Well, then I'm an idiot and just ignore me.
You're not an idiot.
It's all good. So again, you're going to be able to go past 13, and they're going to have rewards at scale with that. Obviously, they keep it relatively appropriate. There's also going to be a change to the XP that you can earn. So in PvP wins for normal and ranked and expeditions, you're going to net at least 200 and 100 XP base respectively every time, no matter how much
huge.
You play. So I think that's a good change. So people that are playing a lot, you're going to be able to just kind of keep going up, keep grinding up. You're not going to get capped off per day. AI wins will always provide at least 50 XP.
I want to add a little bit onto this because I know we want to kind of just fly through these a little bit. We did have someone in chat that wants to talk. Here are our opinion about expeditions, and since Smithel's here, and I don't know, Naidai, if you really do any expeditions, you can at least give your opinion, and we'll go from there. But
absolutely.
For the PvP changes, I honestly just feel like this game is gonna be the first card game that you'll ever pick up, make a brand new account, and not feel like you are so far behind. And they're even talking about doing, it's going to go down a little bit more, and they're talking about region changes, stuff that when they add a new region, they're going to make it easier to finish off the other regions. And I eventually hope that they remove the level 20 cap and just put more capsules on them or something for the region. In case you're missing a couple of cards in that region, you can get the rest of the capsules for it or something. I really do like where they're going with this game, because when I tried to play Magic, when I tried to play Hearth, I don't want to spend $200. I haven't even put $50 into this game, or I think I just hit $50 recently, and that's
I
it.
put
That was
10.
just to buy Lucian. Well, yeah, you play a lot more than me, so I'm not really surprised
Yeah.
about that. But that's right. If I have more time to play than Smithel, you have more time to play than me, and you're probably almost done with your deck. Smithel's basically done with his deck because he plays Expeditions so much, and me, well, I have the cards that I want, and I have a lot of shards sitting there, and just champion. Like I have enough cards. Like I have 3 champion cards just sitting there right now.
Oh, yeah.
So
I've burnt through all my wild cards. Well, not the commons, but yeah, I'm not one of those hoarders, so that's why I have a full collection.
yeah,
I do deck requests on my stream, so I spend my resources a lot.
yeah.
Well, I mean, not anymore. I own everything
Yeah.
at this
I've seen
point.
some streamers with like, I think someone had 30,000 shards. Like shit, man. Like that's enough. Like if you look on Mobalytics, you can actually see when you're looking at some of the meta decks or just in general the decks, it shows you how many shards you need to buy the whole deck. And a lot of them, anywhere that they range, like a budget deck is I think 20,000 to 22,000, and then like a non-budget deck is like 35,000. So
And
like,
most of them cost as champions.
yeah,
Mhm.
like it's I don't know, it's it really, to add a little bit more on the removing the cap is going to be awesome. It lets players play the amount that they want to play. If you don't want to play and you don't want to put the time in, that's fine. But this even makes it easier to get to your to get to your 13 chest if it never gets decreased. Say you can only play on Saturdays. Play all day. You'll get it. You're not capped out anymore. You won't eventually stop earning XP. You'll just always get XP, whether you win or lose.
They pretty much just like remove the ceiling, right?
Yeah.
Out of
Yeah.
everything. Like
Yeah.
originally they had intended to put the ceiling in there to kind of force a slower evolving meta when new regions or new expansions are put out. And they realized that that was something that was hurting other aspects of the game. It hurt other players in order to try to force that. So they're just like, we had our fun with it in the beta, and we're just going to remove the ceiling. When the expansion come out, people are just going to be able to build whatever decks they want, and they don't want to limit deck testing or feel like people need to hoard resources. So they're just removing the cap. Like if you want to play a lot, you get a lot that way. If you want to pay a lot, you get a lot that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm good with the cap removal on the XP, and kind of the one other part that we're coming up here, and I'm going to jump ahead a little bit, is the wild card changes, and I don't know how I feel about the change here. So XP, that's fine. Let people, like Koza was saying, is if you have tons of time to play, you should be continuously getting rewards. It shouldn't cap you out at a max per week on XP and shards and all that kind of good stuff. I don't know how I feel about
Completely unlocking it. Especially champion cards. I'm okay with the other parts, but I don't know about champion cards, man. Maybe increase it from 3 to 6, but not just fully let the flood doors out. But
and maybe I'll change my mind when you're good.
I was gonna say, like, what does that change actually? Like changing it from 3 a week, like all that does is it limits people just getting into the game, right?
So it does, but I think there's and like I said, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm thinking. I think that if you're getting your cards through play and such, you're typically going to be climbing the ladder. You're going to have, be a good player. You're going to have the cards net eventually. What my fear is by having the wild cards fully unlocked from the beginning is, let's say 2 new players come to the game. One has money, one doesn't. New player that has money is going to sit there and just say, okay, I'm going to spend $200, $300, whatever the case is, buy all the cards, get the meta decks. I'm going to come in with shit MMR and just stomp. New player that doesn't have money is going to be like, oh my god, I can't even get into this game. I can't start.
That's what happened to me with Hearthstone. The second I saw a dragon, I was fucking out.
Because I'm already so far behind. Like, they're going to feel like they're playing against a great player or somebody that's been playing forever when it could be somebody new. So I
just looked up Swim's website and just figured out a good meta deck, bought all the champions that he needs, and just plays Kinku Elusives. Barely knows how to play it.
And that's my concern is not so much for us, like the players that do play and understand, like, hell, if you want to unlock it for me, that's not going to be the end of the world. I have the decks I need. But like, I almost wish that they
even a week
consider this,
nice.
or even if it's something like, hey, look, all previous regions are going to be no cap, but the new region is going to be capped. You know what I mean? And how much you can actually pay for wildcards, or somehow apply them to the new region or something like that. I'd feel better about it, because then when a new region comes out, it's not going to be who has the most money to get the meta deck and climb faster. There's going to still be well, you got to play with what you have, and you actually got to know how to play the game to climb. That's my fear. Again, it may mean nothing when this actually gets implemented, but
there's something in the actual I guess post that I want to highlight to address that point that they had said. I'm just gonna go ahead and read it. It says, over time, additional XP boost levels will be added based on how long and how quickly active players have been progressing to ensure there isn't a huge disparity in card collections. If a significant part of the community ends up rocketing way ahead of the pack, the rest of the community can draft off them to catch up. So there's going to
where
be
the
XP
heck
boosts.
is that on it? Is it
That's
farther down?
near the bottom. It's like from that last picture, it's the second paragraph up. But basically, it's saying that the more people that there are in the game, just starting the game out and buying all of their collections, that actually provides XP boosts and like catch-up mechanics for people further behind.
I think it's good for the game. I don't think it's bad for the game. I just feel bad for new players. I agree with Smithel on the fact that it will suck for new players, but also, like I did talk about, eventually that guy's going to be playing against his right MMR, and if someone comes into the game and is willing to purchase a Kinko elusive deck, then clearly he's done a little bit of research compared to the other person that might have just downloaded it on mobile, and this is their first card game they've ever played. They'll learn. If they want to stick around, hey, it's a fun card game. The second I played it, I had never played a card game. Ever. I played it, and I loved it.
And I also feel like if things like that actually become like major issues for the game,
revert
Riot's the type of company to, actually step in there and take care of it.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
They'll definitely stand confident. That's the reason why I'm not freaking out, and I'm more or less just cautious at this point, because I know that was one of the things that I loved. And if you would listen to like episode 1 or something, I said, "Oh, this is great. I loved it. I love what they're doing with wildcards." Because it's making me be a better player. Because
it was good the first couple of weeks, though. I will give you that. But after a couple of weeks playing against people like Naidai, he owned a lot of the cards at that point already. He wasn't really starving for shards or anything like that. He had most of the decks that he wanted to play, and then he was just rounding out his build. Well, yeah, there was only one deck he wanted to play, but you know what I'm saying is it's the way that it worked.
I just built one deck and played it.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people did. And that's how you climbed, is once you learn all of your ins and your outs. This game has such great mechanics that, yes, there's S-tier decks, but you can win with almost anything. You really can. If you pull what your win condition is and you get it off, you can win with a Yasuo deck. I lost to it on my plat climb.
Hey, while we're talking about wildcards, and Naidai, maybe you can explain this to me, because I don't understand the point. Maybe I'm just reading the notes wrong. But so they sit there and say, like, hey, look, right now, as the game currently exists, if you want to buy a specific card, you have to use a wild card. They're basically now saying with the new patch, you can purchase cards in the collection tab using coins, which is the premium currency. And it's identical to the equivalent of a wild card. So if it's a $300 that you would pay, or $300 coins that you would pay for a wild card.
I'm not playing this game anymore if that's the case. I'm done.
If it's 300 coins you can use on a wild card, my reading is that you can just use 300 coins for the champion. Yeah. Well, what's the point of wild cards then?
It's just
other than things that you earn, like in chess.
Yeah. So
why would you even buy wild cards?
Yeah, you basically still get wild cards through, earning and progression and leveling up, et cetera, et cetera. It basically what it does is it just cuts out the middleman. It means you don't have to jump over to the shop tab.
Buy station, exactly. I was just about to say that. Yeah.
Jump back into the collection to buy the champion. It just kind of improves the process and makes it a little quicker.
Quality of life change.
Overall, it doesn't change anything.
Yeah.
And,
just quality of life. That's all.
And that was my question. Is like, well, why even sell wild cards? Why not just make them as a possible award in the vault?
No, people maybe like to flex a collection.
Dude, I'm flexing my collection. I got like 24 greens, like 14 blues, 2 purples, and three champ. I don't know if I have 3 champs anymore. But
if someone wants to go in there, drop $300 to buy 90 champion wild cards just so they can make a Reddit post. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, okay, good. I thought maybe I was reading that.
No, you read it
This feels
right.
like
It's just to cut out the middleman. It's like you said.
Yeah.
They just Riot doesn't want to have to use their drug deal runner. They just want to be able to just go straight to the source, man. Straight to the source, baby.
It's just a quality of life, like you said.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah,
let's go
okay.
into the expedition talk, because this is something our chat does want to talk about.
Yeah,
Us to talk about.
So we in chat they're asking like how did we feel about the awards? Me personally, I'm not too heartbroken about it. So I like expeditions, but I just like it because I like the game mode. Like I love that draft game mode. I think they did a really good job with how they prepared it compared to something like Hearthstone. So I like that it's cheaper to get in. I like that I'm getting my token earlier in the vaults. And
Level 2, isn't it? Wasn't it like
yeah,
basically you have to play a game? That's all you have to do. One game.
Level 2, you get your token. So basically, every week you're getting a free expedition run if you want.
Yeah.
You don't have to get the 10 anymore, which is a little bit of a climb if you're strapped on time and this isn't on mobile yet. But so level 2, I like that they did that. I like that you don't have to play that much longer to get a guaranteed champion in a vault. And if you play even slightly longer than that, like if you give it a good dive in for a week, you're going to get a champion wild card. So you're basically getting your token and 2 champions every week with an acceptable amount of playtime.
2 champions.
Yeah. So I mean, it's one of those things that I'm okay with the expedition rewards being slightly nerfed, and what you're going to potentially get out of them, because it's being made up elsewhere. I think somebody on Twitter was going back and forth with Umbridge, and they said the math doesn't make sense, and it's essentially more expensive now to get the champions, whereas before it was better with the expeditions. And I think the difference is something like 1,000 shard difference or so. To me, it's worth it. To me, if it gets people in the expedition game mode quicker and gets more people a chance to play it, whereas
never gonna play
maybe,
it now, like legit, just never gonna play it. Like me, Gummy, I'm not even gonna concede, because what's the point? I'm not even gonna get shards. I'm gonna get nothing. I'm not even gonna get anything anymore.
But that's fine, because you weren't an expedition player before. To you, it's a chore. Now you're like, hey, look, I can do what I want to do in the game and get the same reward.
But now I'm gonna have like 300 tokens in a year from now. Like, what's even the point of having them? Not gonna do anything for me. I'm never gonna change my mind about playing it. I don't know. I do not like the draft mode. It's
and that's fine.
Its own RNG and its own certain thing.
It's not everybody's cup of tea. It's not everybody's cup of tea.
It's healthy for the game, definitely. Like, it's not forcing you to play a game mode that you don't enjoy.
True.
Now.
Yeah,
true.
It's letting you get those rewards how you want them. And like you said, tokens, you're sitting on the tokens. It's not the end of the world. For me, if it means I get my token earlier and I get a chance to play it and enjoy it, that's great. I don't have to struggle through ladder all week just to get a token that I can do day one and then have to struggle through ladder again all week. I can almost do expedition.
Say they release some new regions, and you can just hop into expedition. You can start playing around with some of the cards, and you get rewards from that new region now. So you can stockpile your expedition tokens and just kind of use them during new set releases or something like that. But I think the more important thing that this kind of that happens from this is, like, they're moving the rewards from expedition into just playing the game. And as Riot has mentioned, that they want to increase the different ways that you can play the game. They want to add more game modes, and this supports that. This kind of gives you a general playing the game rewards and increases the rewards there, and gives them more room for just throwing in more gameplay without having to worry too much about, like, balancing the rewards for those game modes.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I don't know. It's funny because on chat there, we got people going back and forth sitting there saying like, hey, they don't like it, they don't like the value, and I get that. I mean, it seems like the community's definitely torn about this.
Yeah, a lot of people that only play expedition is really frustrated with it. 100%. I've even seen people complain about it in the Masters Discord. They were talking about it. Guys that, they've already played the game too much and they just want to relax, so they go into expeditions, which, God, go play another game, man. If you're grinding a leaderboard like all day and you want to go into hopping expeditions, man, you got a heart of gold or something. Because I don't know how you're not going to tilt yourself even more when you see 6 Kinku life blades on the other team and not have anything to deal with it, like because you didn't draft around it. Like, oof, I don't know, man. To each their own.
They're less competitive. I mean,
yeah, I mean, expeditions
Yeah,
for sure. I mean,
I guess.
it has its problem, but so does every kind of draft mode. Hearthstone had the same problems of, you get people that would basically just draft 10 copies of the exact same card if they had the opportunity, and it
True.
just there's not much you could do. The reason why, like I said, I think I like Expedition is, as somebody that is not great at crafting decks, it gives me the opportunity to practice and get more game knowledge and start to force me to think about how cards interact.
Yes and no, though, because stuff that works in draft, like we've talked about this with Casa before. We've talked about this when we had a patch note with someone else. I don't remember who it was, but yes and no, because there are some cards that are strictly just really good in expeditions. Like Tryndamere is a tier 1, like S tier, if you can get him in draft, in expedition.
Yep.
But if you play him outside in a control deck, well, you might win, you might not. It's hard to say.
I'm not saying I want to do expeditions to figure out how to make a good deck that's going to climb in ladder. I'm saying that I would sit there and see something like, okay, I have, Kinku Lifeblade and I have card Y over here.
Yeah.
And expeditions, and I make a tie saying, oh my god, I can use card Y in this way. And then let's say if, Naidai comes out with a deck a month from now and they have those 2 cards, I go, oh, I know how this interaction works. I know why this belongs in this deck. Whereas before, it may be a card that I never played because it wasn't hot in the meta. Nobody was using it. So I think it's a good learning tool, especially for newer players that don't have a full collection, to get a chance to go in and play a game with some cards that maybe they don't own, and understand the full value of how to play them, when to play them, and how to make them, and not just play against them. Which I think there's some value to that. So I mean, I get there's a lot of people upset about the expedition change, but to me, if it gets people in there and able to play it cheaper, sure, the rewards aren't as great, so be it.
I mean, the rewards still feel good for a new player, and if you're a new player coming into a game like this, especially a free-to-play player, you can just hop into the draft mode and know that you're coming to the table with the exact same resources that the opponent is. So that's definitely one of the big appeals about a draft mode in a game.
Mm-hmm. And I will say, if this is something that people are interested in, we did have a guest on a couple weeks back now, Crabcore, and basically all he does is expeditions and draft type modes. I would strongly encourage people to maybe check out his content.
Twitter.
I'm sure he has a lot to say about this. He does the packs. He does all that kind of analysis too. But definitely keep an eye on his information on Twitter and on YouTube, because I guarantee he'll be putting out
he loves
some content about how this is going to be changing.
He will. He's already talked about it a little bit. Like, I mean, mind you, pray for his family that they're doing well, because his wife is working in the forefront with COVID right now. He's been talking about it a little bit on Twitter. But yeah, if you want any expedition information, I do remember his @ I think it's Crabcore. Both of them are K's. So K for Crab, K for Core. And he gives a lot of information on that. It's really good. It's not for me. Might not be for everyone in chat or everyone listening. I know that there was some people that really did like the information and used the stuff that Crabcore released to get their first expedition win. They messaged him on Twitter, and he was super stoked about that. So,
okay, but yeah. So again, we'll
one more thing you forgot to put in the notes. So the XP boost levels on region roads. These levels will increase any XP you gain towards unlocking them, accelerating your progress through the earlier part of the road and allowing new plus returning players to catch up quickly. So we kind of talked about this in other ways, but like, it's good that they know this. So XP boost levels on region roads is going to be huge. It's going to make you finish your regions quicker, which will be kind of nice.
And I'm willing to bet that those XP boosts are going to be based on, community's overall card collection. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're gonna. Well,
Yeah.
they have all the stats of what we all own, like what Smith owns, what I own, what Naidai owns, what everyone in our chat owns. Like
Exactly.
they know all this stuff. They can see it. They can see how many people are halfway there. How many people haven't bought cards. Like Lucian was my last purchase, and I think a couple of things for the Bannerman deck. But I don't really purchase cards anymore. It's a freaking rarity for me because I have everything I want, everything that's in meta currently. So what's the point? So,
Yeah.
but
But
you guys have
go-
anything to add on that, or are we good?
I mean,
on
I'm
that?
good moving on into the tournament if you guys want to go into that.
Unless you had something else to add, it seemed like you might have had something else to say.
No. I mean, like I said, I mean, we're going to be covering next week whenever the patch actually
it's
goes
true.
live.
It's true.
Who knows if they're going to include anything else? Like I said, this wasn't even an official like patch note. It was more or less like, hey, FYI, this is coming.
Well,
You
I
know,
guess.
so there may be more.
I mean,
guess-
overall, I'm just kind of a fan of the changes. That's
Yeah,
what
Yeah.
I really like
Yeah.
them. I think they're gonna be healthy for the. I think it's gonna be healthy for the game. The wild card thing, like I said, we'll see what it does with the uncap, but I don't know. Maybe no one's gonna complain about it on Reddit. Maybe we'll get 6 people that complain about it. Maybe we'll get thousands of people complaining about it. So who knows? We'll find out when it happens. I do want to mention that yes, we're talking about the patch notes now, but this is just. We don't know the whole patch. There could be some more changes on the next patch. It's usually bugs, cosmetics, stuff like that. We are announcing our guests today that we're going to have on next week. We're going to have Swim and Hyped. It's going to be our first 4-person podcast, so we'll be going over the patch notes a lot more during that time. And now that you guys have nothing else to add, we'll go to tournament talk.
Yeah. Why don't you guys break down the tournament for us?
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll start with NA first. I don't know how to say his name. Shu. That's what Casanova was basically calling him. Shu got first.
But before going into who got first, what tournament was it? I don't think.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Exactly
I just talk about it so often that it's like, geez, I just assume everyone knows about it. I only really followed the Monokuma tournament because right now it's one of the best ones that's actually out there, tournament-wise and format. They're doing some changes. I do realize that there are a couple of more that are happening, especially they seem to be getting posted in the Masters Discord quite a bit. But as for a Riot back tournament, we still haven't heard anything about NA. There's been a Korean tournament, and then I think there was a Denmark tournament, like a German tournament or something.
I don't know. There's an EU Invitational and there was a Korean Invitational.
Yeah, but I think the EU Invitational, was that even backed by Riot? I don't think it was. It was AFK Creators.
I don't think so, actually.
No, it was AFK Creators. I know that there was another one that Casanova talked about recently. I just saw them talking about it on Twitter. I can't remember what it was. I think it was a DE tournament, which I think is, I don't know. Anyways, Monokuma. Monokuma is North American EU. It's ran by Han and a couple guys at Monokuma. We'll start with NA. So Shu won. I actually watched this game. Oh my god! Did you sit down and watch it, Naidai, or were you streaming during it?
I was streaming during it, so after the tournament concluded, it was in my bracket, in my little time slot there. So I didn't get a chance to go back and watch it either.
That sucks. It was a really close game. It literally could have kind of went either way. Casa was talking about like making like a minor misplay, but like Casa played a really, really good event. Like he had a really, really good tournament. He did really well. You know what? He gave me his decks and I forgot to pull them up. So I'm just gonna put them all in the notes. I usually like to pull them up and just show people what was being ran. But Shu beat him 2-1. Basically, some honorable mentions. Unfortunately, our guest Naidai was knocked out before top 32. He didn't make it past the Swiss bracket. Well, you want to talk about a little bit, Naidai? Give us a little rundown.
I mean, so the Swiss bracket was an experimental thing. It was the first time that they've done it, so there are some hiccups, and there was an unfortunate state where they had 13 people tied at a score line of 3-2, and only 4 of those 13 got to advance based on bushel points and I guess score record. And since we had lost our matches earlier on in the tournament, our bushel points were really low. so we didn't make it as part of the big tie cut. So I'm hoping they would take from that and they look to improve the format going forward.
See, I've heard you call it bushel, but then I've heard other people like Swim call it butchel. And then
It
Gummy
might
couldn't
be bushel, I have
pronounce
no
it,
idea.
so he just called it butthole. So I'm not exactly sure which one it is. But
We'll call
it's
it
one
point.
of
Let's just
those
go
three.
points. I put my vote in butthole points because
Yeah, same. I think it just sounds the best, and yeah, no, it's the tournament format was a little when they did the Swiss format for the AFK Creators Tournament. It was a good format. It's just it was a best of one. That's where they went wrong. I think the AFK Creators Tournament could have been really, really good if it was not best of one, if it was best of three. They did the Conquest setup like the Korean Invitational. Banning one deck is how we're seeing a lot of tournaments want to do it. Bring in 3 decks, ban one, have to win with 2. It seems to be kind of the popular thing that's coming. And I hope more tournaments do this, but the Swiss format was a little hard to keep track of. And yeah, you're going to run into that three-way ties, 13-way ties.
13-way ties.
Yeah, it's going to happen, so it's hard. But a lot of card games do Swiss format.
No, I
It's
agree. And
kind of the
usually,
norm for it, unfortunately.
Usually the way to, I guess, like you have to adjust the number of participants in a Swiss format
Yeah.
to the number of rounds. So I feel like the best way to do it is kind of like I think 50 or somewhere around there is probably like the sweet
Yeah,
spot
we
number
probably have
for
too
it.
much, right? Because I don't even know
Yeah,
how many people
one-
were in it for the NA. Wasn't it like
it
100 and
was like
something
in total,
with
yeah. I
2
think it was like a
pools?
good 60 to 70 in
Yeah,
the pool one,
6 rounds
and
is too
that's in
much.
5 rounds. No, it was 5 rounds.
I thought it was
It was
6.
5 rounds.
I thought I saw
It was
6 on challenge.
So
Or
yeah, it like that was just the Hans and them kind of like accidentally adding a 6th round, but it was actually only 5 rounds,
oh,
which is what created that
the extra
13-way tie.
tiebreaker. So
If
if
it
it
were
was only,
six rounds, like if they went an
it would have been
additional round,
okay.
it would have cut half of those people out. So they either
Okay,
need to like reduce the maximum entrance into
or
a
add an
Swiss
extra.
or add extra rounds based on the number of
What time
entrants.
would it have finished at? Like, holy crap!
It
Like,
would have been another hour.
what time was it that it even finished? I don't even remember. I was just watching
Uh,
it the whole time.
it was
2 o'clock.
it was actually a 5. Like they divide the rounds into hour segments. Like they have hour limits on each round.
Yes, that's right. I remember seeing that.
So it was basically 5 hours for 5 rounds, 6 hours for 6 rounds. And they had a very small amount of people in comparison in pool two. So if they put that,
Yes.
cap on pool one, then they can move some of those people into pool two and definitely help balance it out more.
Yeah. I know that there's some people that got a little frustrated with how, because I think at one point Honda was cutting people, and then it actually deterred a couple of people. Like, I don't know if you know 209. 209 will not play in any Monokuma events anymore because he was like rank 6 in the Masters leaderboard, and he somehow got kicked out of both pools and wasn't allowed to play.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah,
I didn't hear nothing
I won't
about
talk about it too much because it's not really important. We don't need to create drama or anything like that. I forget the exact whole story, but I know that he wasn't able to play in both of them, and then he was very disappointed because he got really ready for the tournament and then couldn't enter. And at that time, he was basically playing what Bannerman is now in an older meta, and he was doing really well with it. So before it became very popular.
Yeah. But I mean, like what I got to say about that is that like Legends of Runeterra itself, like the tournament scene is new. They're, they've been going through different formats, different
True.
styles, different deck restrictions every single week,
Yeah.
and they're refining and they're finding the best one. There's going to be hiccups. Not everything's going to run perfectly or smoothly. So I'm not angry about it. I got
No.
knocked out of a 13-way tie, and I've just kind of accepted it as growing pains, right?
Yeah, you've
So
had some top 8 finishes anyways. I think you've been in
absolutely.
top 8, like, weren't you in the last 2 of them top 8?
Yeah.
I think so.
I was in the top 8 for the one before the last, and then the last one I got knocked out early and didn't bother going into pool 2 because it was a rough week for me. But
Yeah.
actually, I beat Casanova in the one I think is number 3, Duels in Terra 3. I knocked
Man,
out
you
Casanova.
always gate block him, don't you? You love just gate blocking Casa. Yeah, you actually have. When I think, didn't Casa play you at some point in this tournament too? Or was it Gummy?
No, I didn't run into Casanova. I ran into
Okay.
Gummy. And I ran into
Okay,
Gummy.
I thought it was Casa, and I think Gummy was one of your losses, right?
Yes.
Oh no.
I lost to Gummy and I lost to Wind Mage, and then I 2-0'd every
Wind
other one of
Mage
my
is a
opponents.
very good player as well. Very,
Absolutely. They're both
very,
really
very
powerful.
good.
They're really good players.
There's a lot of honorable mentions. So basically, I'm just going to go through that because we talked about this quite a bit. So Swim, Gummy, Prismat got knocked out early from top 32, which kind of sucks. Honorable mentions from the Discord is basically like Power of Evil, Croc. Croc, I was actually surprised. Croc got knocked out the first round. He's been in the top like 4 in like 3 or 4 of these, at least 3.
Well, I
And he
don't know
won
a lot
one.
about Croc, but what I've seen from him is that he is a really proficient aggro player,
Yeah.
and the meta right now doesn't suit aggro players.
Unfortunately not. It got a little hit a little while ago. I mean, it did help me a little bit for climbing, but that's just because of the how long it takes to get through your games. That's why you use aggro sometimes to climb the ladder, because it's quick games. If you lose, you lose. You reset. You go into your next one. Just you got to keep that above 51% win rate. You got to be at 51%, or you don't
With the
get it.
format and with the format and the way it was pretty
It
much
doesn't
you
work.
either bring an aggro deck or you bring an anti-aggro deck, or you
Yeah,
bring both. So,
and
and there's a
then
lot of really powerful anti-aggro decks right now.
yeah, that's that. Because a lot of people are just mapping for healing. Like SI took a big hit, but SI has a lot of healing in its deck. So
Hmm.
there was a lot of people playing like a form of a control deck or something with Freljord SI. That was one of the more popular ones. When anytime you saw SI, it was with Freljord.
Yeah, the
That's
Frosty Spider deck is a really, really powerful anti-aggro tool, and
mm-hmm.
it just fills that deck slot. Like people want to
Yeah.
bring Bannerman, so there's Demacia.
Yep.
People want to bring some sort of Ionia deck, whether it's Ionia PNC or Ionia elusives, and that kind of just like frees up a slot for
Wonder which
anti-control.
one was most banned. I think it was actually Ezreal. I think I remember talking to Gummy and them, and I think Ezreal was actually most banned because at some point Gummy banned Bannerman, and then he stopped banning it because he
Yeah,
just realized he was winning against it, and it didn't matter.
he
He
2-0'd my Bannerman deck.
Yeah, and that's the thing is Bannerman's good, but a lot of people were crafting around it, so they just weren't having an issue.
Gummy went to the tournament targeting Bannerman,
Yep.
so
Yep, and he did a good
it
idea.
was a good strategy.
Yeah, it was. So Sunglasses also from the Discord, good guy. And then, well, next week, Hyped had a strong finish. He finished top 4, losing to Casanova, which isn't too bad. Casanova went on to the finals to get second place. So that's kind of cool. I wish these tournaments had a third and a fourth place battle to see
So
who really got third and fourth. I know it doesn't really matter. It would just be kind of cool.
Yeah.
that actually kind of brings me on to a pretty important point in tournaments, and sometimes the strongest players aren't always going to make it to the end. I think
No?
like how you
Yeah.
run in a
Yeah.
tournament is really, really important. And a really big point to that is like I feel like I'm a really strong player, and I feel like I'm at least equal to Hyped. And Hyped had brought almost exactly the same lineup that I did,
Yeah, you were
and
telling us that.
he went like undefeated in through the Swiss tournament, and then like you said, he made top 4, running the exact same list that I did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hyped is hyped like because I had to do a little bit of research on him, so I knew what we were going into next week when we are talking to him. Hyped is a really big portfolio, is I guess the way I'd put it, and I'm gonna be very surprised if he's not a very strong player in this game, like Zixo and like I feel like you're gonna hear about Zixo a lot and Hyped, and I know there's a lot of other players we're gonna hear about. It just I don't know. Like I still don't know where some of these players lie. Like I thought Casanova was gonna be focusing a lot more on competitive. He did really well in this tournament, but he's been doing a lot of streaming. So is he gonna prioritize streaming? What if he gets offered a job in streaming or not streaming, casting? If he gets offered a job in casting, is he going to take that over playing competitively? I don't know. It's hard to say, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is basically a road that he's gonna have to, or a bridge that he's gonna have to cross when he gets there, kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh, and someone in chat just said Cage. Actually, I think Cage is one of your viewers.
Kage.
Kage. Ah, I fucked that up. My bad.
You
But
like anime? That's upsetting.
yeah, that is actually upsetting. That's why I got upset there. I was like, Kage. How did I not realize it was Kage? Um, Casanova and Hyped match, I watched that one too. I was watching Hyped, and I was just Casa, and I was just like playing the game on the side, just playing some aggro, and dude, it was such a close game. Like I ended up stop playing at one point because I just wanted to watch the game. It was so close. Like Hyped could have won that. Like it could have won either way as well. Just like Casanova versus Shu at the end. Like I don't know, man. It was a really competitive tournament. I'm really sad that there's no spectator mode, but one thing I did want to talk about is it has been said there will be a spectator mode. They don't know when. It's not ready. Umbrage did typed and said he answered someone's question, and then 2 seconds later he's like, "Oh shit, I made a mistake," because he said too much, and he said that it was going to be in the game. Then he prefaced he said, No, it's not coming next week. We don't know when. Oh my God. I hate Twitter. And I literally actually messaged him back. I was like, dude, you're doing fine. Don't worry about it. The fact that we're hearing that spectator mode is coming to this game is huge. That's all we care about. Whether it comes tomorrow, next week, and a year from now, who cares? It's coming to this game, and that's important enough.
Hopefully not a year from now.
Well, I know. I'm making a joke. It's got to come out release, and I'll be surprised if it doesn't come out release or a little bit after release. They're clearly working on it, but it's not a priority right now if we're not going to have Riot-funded tournaments or, we're only having $100 tournaments and little LOR, small invitationals that are done by, outside companies. Until we have, ESL or, a DreamHack or something like that that's getting announced and people are getting invited to, I don't think spectator mode's going to be the be all end all, and they're going to have a tournament draft mode for that eventually anyways. So I don't know. Well, I guess that's about it for NA unless you had something to add, Naidai?
I guess I can give a small shout out to Casanova. I've scrimmed him a lot. Especially around the time of Duels of Runeterra 3. And he was a good player, but I feel like he's grown a lot actually since then as well.
Yeah.
And his semifinal or his runner-up finish here is really a big testament to that. But I feel like he's grown a lot as a player in the last 2 weeks.
He's really good at adapting to meta. He really is. When he used to play Heroes of the Storm and be a pro there, he became known as a player, as a strong player, very, very quickly on. Even though his team was not the top team in HGC, he was a good player. He was a really, really good player, and I feel like he's really going to bring that into this card game. We're not going to hear about if he decides to go down the competitive route. We're not going to hear about him maybe the first tournament, maybe the second tournament, but I have a feeling he's going to be a top contender. He's going to be up there. You're going to hear him in the top 8 a good portion of the time, depending on what route he decides to go on, and if he really tries to push hard in this game, because that's the biggest thing. It's about where your mental state's at. He streams a lot. Sometimes he streams. Sometimes he kind of disappears. He has a lot of other things going on the go. He has D&D that he does with his buddies. He's got a lot of stuff to do and a lot of stuff outside of the game. I know he's casting every Thursday night. He does with Crowan. He does a TFT tournament for Slayer TV. Is it Slayer TV? Giant Slayer TTV. Anyways, it's a TFT tournament that used to be Heroes Hearth. Smithley, you probably know who Heroes Hearth is.
I do.
So basically, Heroes Hearth, they run a tournament on TFT, and he does casting with that with Crowan. So that's he does do a little bit for that, and I think he has to do a little bit of setting up for it, finding out what the top meta is and stuff like that. I don't know if he plays TFT much anymore, but it's going to be a huge decision for him. If he does push competitive, though, I think he's going to get better and better. And I'm hoping to see more and more of the players get even more competitive. Right now, I'm quite happy with how this scene's looking. I wasn't sure how competitive was going to be taken in this game, and now we have guys I have guys talking to me on the LOR Discord, the Master Discords, just saying, hey man, I want to make a tournament. Hey, I want to do a tournament. And I've had guys ask me questions about it, and it's just it's awesome. Just keep growing. Keep showing Riot that we care about the game, that we want tournaments, and maybe we'll deliver.
Yeah, I think that's the key is that we just need to, keep showing Riot that the demand's there. Show the players want to do it and show that there's going to be views for it. Make them
I
make
think
them understand
spectator
it's
will
the game
also
to
go a
keep
really
missing.
long way for,
Huge.
watchability when it comes to tournaments and stuff like that.
And Number
We'll
did
be
say
able to
that's
cast.
coming, not in the next patch or soon, but he did say that it's coming, in the future.
Yeah, and that's huge. Like with him just saying that, like I was talking about before, it's gonna be huge. Really happy for that. Once spectator mode comes in, we're gonna even start hosting. I just want to be able to cast this stuff. If I can't cast our own tournaments that we're running, I don't know if I'm gonna want to do a Saturday afternoon tournament that we have to force everyone to go into Discord and screen share their game. It's a lot to keep track of, and if we have more than 8 people, it's gonna be really hard to keep up with that. Okay. So now let's go into EU. So EU, like I said, I don't really know why it's only top 16, but I'm just assuming there's less people in it. So any Desu, probably butchering the name. One, I actually know them from Gummy's chat. I've seen them in there a couple times, but I don't follow the EU scene enough. So the one name that I have noticed almost every single week is Presto. I don't know who this guy is. I don't know if he's big.
That's not a name that I'm familiar with.
Me neither, but dude, he's been in the top 8, I swear to God, every week. At least every week. Like, he still made it to top 8 here. He went from top 16 to top 8. I swear he's in the top 8 every week. And he's come pretty close to winning, but he just always just gets so close and then gets knocked out. Fresh Lobster, I recognize them from somewhere too. They got second place. I don't know if this was a competitive match because I just don't have time to do the EU as much. We were talking about it a little bit before stream because I don't think we talked about it on, right? We didn't talk about it. Anyways, I'm going to have someone covering the EU portion of it. We're going to probably bring someone on to actually talk about it. The EU scene, because I'm going to get someone to follow this because I feel like I'm doing a disservice to them by not talking about some of the tournaments that are ran.
Yeah.
Because I don't know enough information. I'm following constantly. I'm in NA streams and I'm just looking for NA tournaments, keeping track with that. So I kind of don't keep up with EU enough. Like Shiku, I don't even know if he played in this event. Like, I don't know. Maybe he got knocked out in the Swiss format because Shiku is who I'm used to also being in the top 8. But, I'm not sure.
I don't follow the EU scene much at all.
Yeah,
like
I know.
I hear about a few of the top players, but yeah.
It's like most of these guys I remember from our Discord. That's really
Yeah, I mean, we'll definitely have to, if there's a demand for, like you said, Kozer, we'll definitely have to bring somebody in and give it some coverage for sure.
I'm gonna bring someone in to do coverage.
Almost in the NA side.
Yeah, it's like I'm not gonna talk about it as much, and I'm gonna have someone just briefly go over it. So, anyways, we're done with that. Let's move on to the deck. It's deck time. The deck. Are you ready? Are you ready? I'm ready. So Naidai is going to be going over his Karma Ezreal deck. Oh my God, you're a bad man.
Oh, dude,
which
good, though.
And before you dive too much into it too, I know you just sent us right before the show started a guide for this on Reddit too.
Yes, which we will be posting in the link.
Yeah, we'll make sure in the YouTube links. Anybody that is watching it, his guide that he wrote on Reddit will be linked out there. So you can kind of, reference back to it as need be.
So much info. Like, oh my God.
It's
good.
a full guide. It's not just,
Damn.
This ain't just a get Ezreal, get Karma, win game kind of guide.
Dude, I don't even want to know how long that took you. That probably took you at least a couple hours.
It actually took me about exactly a couple hours.
Yeah, I was going to say. Oh, well, I bet your viewers are happy about it, though.
I actually had a viewer request it and bribed me a little bit for it, so I went ahead and did it.
That's right. You're telling me about that. Hey, man. Hey, it wasn't sexual service, so it's all good.
Nope.
It's it's okay. It's not against TOS, so it's all good. It's all good. So
I mean, it's motivation for me to put out more content, so
yeah.
I'm absolutely all for it. I've been meaning to do this kind of thing, and my Reddit account was throwing fits at me, so I've been meaning to make another one, and it's just all gave me perfect motivation to actually do it. And sometimes that's just what you need, right? Just a little push.
So let's dive into the deck. Naidai. Let's do it.
All right. So this is actually one of the decks that I ran in the tournament. I build mine just slightly differently. I mean, there's not a lot of breathing room when it comes to tech cards in this deck,
Mm-hmm.
but I called it Bullet Time Ezreal. I don't know what I'm gonna do when Misfortune's released. I'll just have to rename it maybe, or just throw Misfortune into it.
What are you talking about? That's just
Yeah.
bullet time misfortune.
Hey, you'll take out
It's
Ez
a
and
whole-
throw
it's a whole
misfortune in
bullet
it.
time series.
There we go. All right, already figured that out then. But at its core, it's probably the most combo deck in Legends of Runeterra. Like at its core, it is a combo deck. Like you're just trying to stall, you're trying to hit Exodia, and you're winning the game.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of decks that are kind of like soft combo decks, that run uh, win conditions that way. Like you can call Fiora like a combo deck kind of,
Mm-hmm.
but it's more of like a slowly building towards an alternate win condition. And Karma Ezreal is like the true essence of a combo deck. You're trying to hit piece 1, piece 2, piece 3, piece 4, and you win the game. And it requires quite a bit of proper setup. So the main part of the deck is you're trying to get Ezreal, you're trying to get Karma, you're trying to hit turn 10, and and then you just kind of burst the opponent out. You just kill him. OTK. My deck focuses much more on the non-interactive gameplay portion of that OTK. So tries to kill you at burst 100% of the time. It
Okay.
generally requires Ezreal at full stacks, all 8 of his targets, which is generally pretty easy to hit with this deck.
Mm-hmm.
And it requires Karma on the board, it requires Ezreal on the board, and then it requires at a at the very most 5 burst spells, which you can do in one turn.
Mm-hmm.
So you can drop Karma, you can drop Ezreal, that leaves you 5 mana for 5 1-mana burst, and that does 20 damage with 0 interaction. And that's kind of the main win condition of the deck.
Okay.
Now, the hard part is, getting there. It requires setup, it requires survival, and it gets some of the aggro, some of the mid range. It can be a little difficult to get there. So the rest of the deck runs a lot of tools that are meant to stall and to cycle and to make sure that you can assemble those pieces and make it to that turn 10 combo. So it's this deck. If you compare it to other Ezreal decks, like in a mirror match, it's more powerful because it has that explosive endgame potential. But at the same time, it has less favorable matchups against like aggro. It's slower, so it can absolutely be pressured out by aggro a lot easier. The tools to combat aggro usually involve things like Jury Rig, Health Potion. You use your early removal, Thermogenic Beams, Mystic Shots, Get Excited. Everyone kind of aware of how effective they are at picking apart early game boards. And that's generally your early game matchup is you just try to survive, especially against aggro. It's usually if you survive the early game, you can generally pull out a win. Against the mid range, when you get into the mid parts of the game, you're focusing more about building boards, developing chump blockers, and just stalling for those between turns 6 and 9 and trying to, finish assembling the combo pieces that you need to hit
Mm-hmm.
turn 10, to have Karma, to have Ezreal, and just win the game. A lot of the tools you use for that are use Yone. Yone is a very, very big punish to
Yeah.
people trying to develop a board after turn 7
Yeah. 7.
because you're developing a 6/6 body and you're stunning 2 of the most prominent attackers, which basically will shut down any attack.
Unless they
And
got
as
to
people can
deny. That's it.
yeah,
That's the only
Yeah.
saving grace,
And
and a lot of decks aren't using deny lately as much.
so you're saying
exactly.
that card's typically better to play when you're on a defender round. So like, let's say if your turn 7 is your attack, do you still want to play that, or is that better to be held for the next round to stop them from attacking you, to basically keep delaying out?
So that'll be a judgment call. In a lot of
Yeah.
situations that you want to wait. You want to take your turn 7 to pick apart their board and ensure that they're going to be trying to develop on their turn 8 so that you can counter with the Yone.
Okay.
Because Yone at its strongest is stunning someone who's trying to develop on their offensive turn,
Okay.
and shutting down an offensive attack. Sometimes you just want to drop it for the body. You want to drop it for the Ezreal stacks. Ezreal stacks is something that this deck struggles a little bit more to develop, to stack up than other decks before hitting Karma. So Yone is a really, really big tool for getting those Ezreal stacks because it targets two. And that
Okay.
goes, that's 25% of the way of your Ezreal. So there are times where you want to use it defensively, or on your attack, especially if you have your opponent has that big board state and that they're going to be open attacking on their turn and there's nothing you can do about it. You want to develop Yone just for the body, just for the stacks. But if you can find an opportunity, Yone is at its absolute strongest on your opponent's offensive when they're trying to develop before an attack.
Okay.
And he can be a really pivotal, really, really important piece, especially in like the Bannerman matchup, the mid-range matchups where they have a big board
Yeah.
and they're trying to develop a big board. It's kind of where he's the strongest.
Well, it's a good
And
chump blocker too, because a lot of the time with Bannerman, like now that I think about it, gives everyone there's a lot of 2/2s, 3/3s, and then it turns it into a 4/4 unless you drop like 2 or 3 Bannermans. Well, that's getting kind of crazy, but
yeah,
then you're going to be having 5/5s, and Yone can still chump block that quite well and still actually live to make another attack.
oh yeah, Yone almost always trades 2 for 1 as far as bodies are concerned.
Yeah.
But usually by the time he's getting his second trade in, like you're winning the game.
Yeah,
Like
that's true.
turn
You should
10,
have Karma
ideally.
on board and Ez and stuff.
Yep, you should have Karma, you should have Ezreal. And that's kind of how you get through your mid games. You want to use Yone, and another important tool is Will of Ionia during the mid game against Bannerman, against Hecarim decks, which are less prevalent right now. But Will of Ionia is really good at punishing like 5+ cost minions. Like they spend their entire turn trying to develop a Garen, and you're just recalling it, or a
Question
Swiftwing.
about that. I'm surprised you only use one deny. You have like a really low probability of drawing it here. Is it? I know it's important to have a lot of wills. It's really good against Heimer. It's really good. Like I mean,
Yes.
Heimer's kind of been falling off a little bit more.
I mean, Heimer generally kind of still gets value when he's played, so Heimer's not exactly the best example of a target. Generally, you just want to kill a Heimer. But
Yeah, but it's
like
okay to will him again because he's 5 mana.
yeah,
It's any
yeah,
five
yeah.
mana target is usually pretty good to will away, unless it's like really really late game. Then he might have enough mana to play him again. But
And then you
still,
just recall it again or
yeah,
stun it, or there's options. But like Heimer is probably one of the least value targets you can will. Like recalling Lux in those same Heimer
yeah,
decks,
true.
recalling Garen, recalling Swiftling Lancer, Cythria, Brightsteel
Oh,
formation.
Cythria is huge. Oh
Cythria is
yeah,
absolutely huge. That's probably one of the best targets in the game to
yeah,
recall.
huge.
But it just slows them down. It makes them have to develop, and that's one of the big cards to get them to develop into a Yone. If they play Cythria on 6, you recall it. They replay it on 7, you Yone it. And that's kind of one of the big tools you get to get Bannerman to redevelop into your Yone.
Do you play only one deny? Now, this is going to be the
Yes.
next question. Do you play one deny in case you have an extra karma? If you have 2 in hand, you can put 1 down and not really worry about it dying. And if it does die, well, as long as you get a couple spells, are you hoping to get an extra deny, or do we just not care? Like, are you feel safe with only having 1 deny in this deck all the time?
Short answer is yes. So the deck has its core cards, the core cards it needs against most matchups to survive. Then it's got tech cards. The tech cards are cards that you throw in there to maybe improve matchups. They're not needed in the matchup, but they can improve certain matchups. And Deny is one of those cards. It's one of those tech cards that you can improve your matchup against War Mother Control. You can improve your matchup
True.
against
True,
anything
yeah.
running Ruination or Vengeance. And if you draw it, it sits in your hand and waits for those cards. If you ever draw like more than one deny, it's usually just
You're
like a
kind
reach
of
target or
like,
something like that.
yeah. I get what you're saying now. So if you have too many denies in your deck, you could have a possibility of pulling both of them, and then they're just kind of just sitting there, just doing nothing because you never
Yeah,
need them.
yeah, and it's just one of those cards that can improve certain matchups, but it's not needed.
Yeah.
So we kind of run it as a one of, as a tech, is something that can find value somewhere in a match, but isn't needed. And that's kind of how I feel about tech cards and their importance. You use them to slightly increase some matchups while not hurting other matchups.
Okay.
and that's, I guess, the reasoning behind the deny. So
Yeah.
we talked about the early game, the mid game, and those kind of matchups, and the deny, which kind of plays into the late game control-y matchups, where it can be a little more difficult to stack an Ezreal. And in this guide, I've also got like the perfect scenario is you're stacking up Ezreal, you're removing their board, you're hitting turn 9, you're dropping Karma, beginning at turn 10, you drop Ezreal, and you just end the game. It's
Yeah.
like best case scenario, perfect world, et cetera, et cetera. Happens consistently, so I don't really want to overuse perfect world kind of thing. But it happens often, and that's your main win condition. But there are contingency plans in the deck, and I kind of have a brief section that encompasses a few of those, and it leads to interesting combos in the deck that are outside of its main win condition. One of those things is you don't always have your perfect pieces assembled. You don't always have Karma, you don't always have Ezreal, and you don't always have like the burst spells needed to end the game. Sometimes you just hit turn 10 and you just got Karma. And one of those ways to help in those situations that I highly suggest in this deck that people may not do enough of is holding Rummage. Rummage,
Okay.
a lot of people see Rummage, they see Chump Wump, and they're like, okay, I got 2 mushrooms, I got Rummage, just go and use it, get 2
Yeah,
new
I'm one of those
cards.
people.
Yeah. The thing is, you want to hold Rummage. Rummage is so, so important for the later stages of that game, especially in like mid-range matchups or aggro matchups where you've expended a lot of your resources trying to clear the board and trying to get to that point. And then you get to that point, you no longer have the tools to end the game. Having Karma and Rummage, just those 2 cards alone can completely refill your hand by itself.
Yeah.
With Karma on board, you're discarding 2 cards, usually something like a Yone or a Chempunk that you no longer need, and you're drawing 4 fresh cards. Those 4 fresh cards can be another Karma, which you can use inside of Ages for at that point. It can be another Rummage where you can just continue to dig deeper, and you can find that Ezreal at that point. And it's also ammunition. Say you have Karma, you have Ezreal on board, but you don't have the, burst spells to end the game. You use Rummage, it draws you into like 2 or 3 more burst spells, and the game's just over at that point. And it's such an incredibly valuable tool after turn 10. So one of the big suggestions I have for playing this deck is if you have Rummage, save it until you absolutely need to use it. Because of its power spike on turn 10, you're like tripling the value of it. Because you're no longer discarding 2, drawing 2, you're discarding 2 and drawing 4. 4 fresh new cards that are more relevant to that point in the game.
That makes sense.
So yeah, I mean, if you're using a lot of resources, especially early, try to hold on to that Rummage as long as you can. It can be the difference. And another part along that Rummage scenario is you don't need Ezreal to end the game always. Like Karma, duplicating burn spells, Mystic Shots, get excited, and going face with them. It's a lot of damage.
Yeah. Sometimes you can just
So
get it done.
yeah, sometimes you just don't want to tunnel vision too hard onto that Ezreal Karma Exodia win condition, and you can just end the game through pure burn.
Okay.
And then yeah, I mean that pretty much just covers a lot of the. Oh, one more thing is another thing with Karma and in a slower matchup, especially sometimes you're playing a lot of minions, you don't have a lot of burn, you're not stacking up Ezreal very much. Karma can hyper level your Ezreal. For 4 mana, you can get 4 stacks with a Static Shock and draw 2 cards.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to just be using resources to level Ezreal because when you get Karma online later, flipping Ezreal is incredibly easy.
Yeah, it's huge too. I didn't even think about that. Yeah. You clearly know this deck pretty well.
I've played it a lot. Like I've played it for probably like the last week and a half. We've consistently floated around top 20. I've hit rank 8 with it
Oh, well.
as my
Nice.
peak so far. Like
Yeah.
yesterday alone, I think I hit rank 13 and floated around top 20 all day.
Are you
Nice.
one of the few people that are playing this, or are you seeing a lot of mirrors?
I'm not actually running into a lot of mirrors. I'm kind of under the suspicion that Legends of Runeterra has an anti-mirror system to it. Because when I'm watching other people's stream,
I don't know about that. Maybe in
when I'm watching other
Masters.
people, maybe it's just for me. I don't. Maybe I'm just like lucky
Maybe.
at avoiding
Dude.
those mirror matches. But when I'm watching other people's streams, I'm like, wow, this guy's fighting a lot of Ezreal Karma. I'm like never running into this.
Yeah.
And So
It
I don't
happens.
know.
It's weird. It's hard to say because sometimes when for a couple weeks there, once everyone was basically posting on Twitter every second day, just got to Masters with elusive. Like everyone was using elusive, so I stopped playing it because I was just always playing the mirror match. Mirror match is frustrating because it's not even always just skill. It's just basically whoever gets what they want.
Who draws
If you
better?
mulligan better than them, you win the game. That's how I got into that's how I got into Diamond. Was literally just out mulliganing any elusive deck I was playing. I think I had like a ridiculous win rate against it. I think I had like an 80%, maybe 90% win rate against mirror match elusives.
Yeah, and that comes down to, what I had stated earlier, that getting through high level play is about your play. It's not about the deck.
Yes, huge, huge. Yeah, you start to learn how much of an idiot you are when you basically get a coach to come and show you what you're doing wrong. Oh, dude, I honestly just didn't even understand. At one point, I was like, oh, it just must be because I suck. No, it's not because I completely suck. It's just my brain is not thinking properly. I'm not thinking about the bigger play. And this deck is big brain. So if you're going to play this, guys, it does, anytime you're playing Heimer as a lot of splashes that have karma in it, it is big brain. There is some thought process that you have to put into it. Do not just slap cards on the board. You think ahead. If you're gonna rope an opponent, I mean, you suck. But if you have to, just do it. Try not to end up on people's roping lists. But if you need to think. It's
roping by
big
necessity
brain.
is fine. Roping to be a troll is not fine.
Well, yeah, when you have 0 mana and it's not your turn, bro.
Yeah.
Fuck off. Stop roping, please. Please stop roping. Yeah, it's anyways, well, we won't go into roping too much. That's
Yeah, I
a
mean,
different time for a different day, and I don't really want to talk about it too much.
a little disclaimer about the deck is that the deck plays differently than a lot of other decks. Like, you're really, throughout the early parts of the game, you're playing to survive, you're playing to not lose,
Yeah,
and trying to, like, resource manage. And it's not a play style for everybody. A lot of people, they like the aggro, they like the mid
aggro
range, they
brain.
like having proactive
Yeah,
plays, they like being able to do something every turn. And this deck doesn't need to do something every turn. So it's definitely a different play style, and it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
sorry, my Discord screwed up the camera there for a second because people
It's okay.
don't leave me alone in Masters Discord.
What a rough problem. But
Oh
I
yeah,
mean, it seems like an interesting deck, and I like control decks. I definitely have the problem. I think I've said this probably on every show since we've kicked off, of panic plays. Of, like, you sit there and said, of like, hey, we got to think ahead. Don't do something every turn. Where I start trying to say, okay, I'm going against this deck type. They're going to play this next turn. I need to get ahead of it and play something down, like playing a chump wump maybe when it's not the best time, or whatever the case may be, and trying to get out of that mindset has been kind of what kills me. Because again, in previous card games, control was very different because you're only really playing every other turn, and so because I have the opportunity to play every round, it's definitely been taking a little bit of getting used to. So this is a game I definitely want to be, or not a game. This is definitely a deck I want to be trying out,
yeah, you
to
have fun with it.
hopefully improve my game sense in that regard, of not panic play and just trying to play smart and play slow. The only control deck, honestly, that I've had a lot of success with is War Mother's control, which isn't really super meta these days.
No,
It's
I
not
mean, if
super
you pick
big
it up
brain either.
soon.
It's heal, throw down big
Yeah,
cards, GG.
it's basically survive to 10 and let War Mother win.
Yeah.
It's like less big brain than Spooky Karma.
Yeah,
Spooky
and I'm
Karma
trying
still
to get
uses
more
big
of
brain.
a thought process ahead, which is, I think decks like this would definitely help improve mindsets of certain players on.
Yeah, this deck really does a number to War Mother control.
Naidai can coach you too, Smithel, for a
Yeah.
fee probably.
I mean, I'm telling you, that's the next series. Once you get to Master, you got to
Oh,
drag my ass up to it.
hey man, I'll try to help you as much as I can with everything I've learned. I don't even know what's happening after this. I got to make this series. I might do Diamond and Masters, but not Naidai. Bagels might just throw me to the wind and just let me try to figure it out myself, and maybe I'll be doing my own series. Not to that series, I'll be like not tilting myself to Masters.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
So, yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there,
no,
Kozer.
that's fun.
Yeah, so I got a question about this deck now. So and you sat there and said, like, you're trying to survive early game, trying to basically not let aggro just run you down early, and make sure you have the resources to contend with that. Is there a certain deck in the meta? Like, I know you said this stomps on War Mother's control. Is there one opposite that this deck just really, really does not perform well against? That if you see it coming up, you're constantly on your heels trying to figure out, how do I survive to get to my win condition?
Spider aggro.
Okay. And
Any
why?
of them, or just the specific one with what is it now?
Crowd
It's like
favorites.
Elise, the Freljord one. Okay.
No, the crowd favorites. The Freljord one isn't that difficult. It's the
Oh, I
Noxus,
know which one you're talking about. The crowd
the
favorite one.
Noxus
Yeah.
SI with the crowd
Mm-hmm.
favorites.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
almost like an aggro deck, basically,
yeah, it
but
is an
it's
aggro
not
deck,
like
definitely.
it's just
It's
overloading your board.
aggro decks is something that this deck struggles with. I mean, it's teched heavily to try to shore up that matchup with the jury rigs, with the health potions. But generally, they get a lot of chip damage in on you. They run things like Mark the Isles, which you're trying to mix six shot something that's doing 3 damage to you, and they Mark the Isles it for 1 mana, and now it's doing 6 or 8 damage to you instead, and you just wasted a removal trying to get rid of it. And there's just a lot of cards in that matchup that are unfavorable for us trying to stave off the aggression. Uh, to a lesser to about actually about the same extent, the new discard aggro that goes really wide has a lot of game against this deck as well. A lot of the decks that can put it forth a lot of pressure and not allow us to reach those late game turns are decks that we struggle against.
Good to know.
I'll have to give it a try sometime. And so will Smithel. Well, this episode's going a little long, but it's okay. We had some great information, some good chatting. Kind of, I know me and Smithel talked about trying to keep this at an hour, but I'm just being realistic. We have a guest on. These episodes are going to start going long. This swim and hype one, we're going to have 2 people hearing about 2 people's backstories next week. It could be 2 hours. It could be 2.5. You know what? It's going to be as long as it is. If you guys don't like it, you can fast forward it. I don't know. I'm going to try to start putting timestamps in the videos so you guys can go to the parts that you really want to hear about if there's specific stuff. I won't be able to do that, obviously, on podcast form, but if you're listening on podcast form, you probably have the time to listen to the episode, I'm assuming. If you're watching YouTube, maybe not, but if you're listening to a podcast, even if you don't finish today, if you finish it before the next episode, you're doing great. You're doing awesome.
Yep, you got a week. You got a week.
You got a week, exactly. As long as Kozer doesn't have internet problems. So let's go into the next closing thing. We're running it's not me. Yeah. It's Smithel. Smithel's.
Well, hey, I'm
Smithil's awesome. We're doing it for us.
Yeah, what we decided to do is what we want to do is, because everybody's kind of locked down here on coronavirus. Some of us statewide mandates. Some of us just trying to do our part and limit contact. What we want to do is try to find a way.
Smithel, you're too close to me right now. Please move away from the camera a little bit. You're a little too close. I feel like I'm going to get COVID through the camera. Please.
I'm not maintaining the 6 feet
Thank you.
distance.
I feel better now. I'm calmer.
But what we want to do is we're encouraging. Riot has this porology.
Porology, you got it there.
Porology guide, and it's basically a good way just to learn how to draw a poro. And the poro kind of being one of our mascots of the show. We wanted to put a contest out that if you go to our Twitter, we will have a link to the exact post of it. Just use the guide, draw a poro. It doesn't have to be great. God knows I have 0 artistic ability. But you basically go in, draw a poro, submit it to us, retweet and follow all the good stuff that you normally do for these types of contests.
We have some drawings already, too.
Yep, and we're going to randomly pick a winner, and the winner's going to get $10 of Riot points. I know it says LP in the post, but I was trying to climb at the time, and Kozer even said LP, and I'm like, yeah, LP, I'm like, I'm
confused when you messaged me that. I was like, LP. I'm like, ladder points?
No. So it's going to be Riot points, so you can use them in League and all that kind of good stuff. By all means, like I said, it doesn't have to be a great drawing. Just get in there, follow the instructions. We will be drawing on April 1st, so get it in before then. If you're listening to this, it gives you about a week. But by all means, go have some fun with it. Get $10 you can spend in League or TFT or whatever the case may be. I think they accept them now in Runeterra, if I believe.
I think so. We're not sure about that. If not, what we'll do is we'll figure out something to PayPal you guys $10. It's not a huge deal. We'll definitely figure that out. I'm pretty sure you can, but I'll have to check tonight. I'll look tonight because I know you probably have to get off and get ready for bed after this and go to work tomorrow. Well, work from home tomorrow, but I'll have tons of time, so I'll figure that out. And there is bonus points. So, are you just saying this as a joke, or are we going to give someone an extra draw, an extra chance to win the draw if they make it resemble?
That's just bonus points in my heart. I mean,
oh, okay. I was gonna say if you can make it have a dirty Corona stash, then
don't hate on it.
Then Smithel's Corona stash, and if you can make mine bald, like have a bald spot on the head, great. That is solid. I'm good with that. That's awesome.
I mean, it's more likely for us to move them up to Twitter and love them and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so I mean, definitely keep an eye out for it. If you get a chance, go ahead and enter it. Like I said, winning's winning. Right now, we don't have a ton of drawings. I think we have 2 or 3. We did just launch this yesterday. So
doesn't have to be on a paper either. Just so you guys know, if you're a digital person, just draw it. Like I have a buddy Hollow that I don't know if he saw it. I'm gonna show it to him because he might draw a Poro doing it digitally.
Yep.
For you to draw Naidai, do it.
All right, I'm in there.
So that's going on. Okay. Go ahead and enter that. But let's kind of pass it over to Naidai. Naidai, obviously, first thank you again for being on the show. This was huge. I mean, you brought all kinds of good information to us. But most importantly is for anybody listening to the show or watching us on YouTube or anything like that, what is the best way to follow you and keep up with your streams and your content and all that good stuff?
Well, obviously there's just the stream itself. That seems to be the best way to do it. But I also have a Twitter, so you can definitely follow me on Twitter. And those are kind of like my 2 main ways of getting a hold of me. I'm still working on getting YouTube up, but you can expect that in the near future too.
So Twitch.tv's Naidai89, correct? Yeah. Then again, they're going
I got Naidai to change this because Naidai's Twitter was I couldn't find the dude on Twitter. I was trying because I knew about Naidai and I knew what decks he ran and I watched his stream and I wanted to get him on the podcast at some time and I'm like, I don't even have his Twitter account. Like, where do I get this guy? And then I'm like, what's your Twitter? And then he Twitter and then it pops up. I'm like, it was like, wasn't it not even Naidai? It was something completely different.
Yeah, it was. It was an old username I used.
I was like, what the?
Twitter in a long time.
I was like, please change it. He's like, wait, I can change it? I'm like, yes, go to your settings. We'll ask you for your password. Please change it. So, yeah, it's Naidai89 for Twitch and Twitter. That's all. That's all you guys need to search for on both.
Yeah, by all means, check
out Reddit, you said? Sorry, I missed that. I didn't know you wanted me to add your Reddit. I'm going to add that.
I mean, I just made the Reddit today in order to post this guide on there. So
I'm adding it right now to the list, so I add it. There we go.
They'll all be there. Like I said, I mean, definitely give them a follow. Keep up with the streams. I know Naidai, it's always great to have you on. Have hopefully, you'll consider coming back in the future.
Absolutely.
Updating a new deck that I will probably pilot poorly, and you'll have to yell at me on.
I got the guide. You can reference it.
you may have to just start writing guides for everything from now on, because that's going to be the way that I'm going to have to keep.
Like, that's so good, that guide. I could learn a thing or two just from that.
Yeah, more than just like about the deck. It's got some pretty base mechanics in there.
Yeah.
But like I said before the show, and you're like, oh, we got a guide. I'm like, okay, it's gonna be like a paragraph on how to play it or something like that. And I'm looking at like,
wrote a book
through, and I'm like, oh my god,
a small novella. Like it is insane, bro. It's good, but that's what you want on a Reddit post. That's what Crabcore did. That's you have to put good information, or people's not going to read your content. It's basically what it comes down to. Now, anytime people go into Naidai's stream, I bet you anything you got an exclamation. This deck, and then the Reddit post comes up, I bet. Right?
Yeah, it will be.
Oh, it will.
I just finished this, so.
Oh, that was literally like right before the show, like basically
right
today.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay, cool.
Jeez,
well, yeah, then definitely go check that out. My bad.
Like I got up at 6 p.m. to make sure I got it done before the show.
Wow. Wait, you got up?
Yeah.
We won't talk about it. It's all good. Messed up sleep schedule. We get it. And also, baby 2 can't probably help with your sleep schedule.
Not even a little.
So my socials are at Kozer88 on Twitter. Twitch is Kozer_88, and YouTube is YT Kozer88. And sorry, I haven't really been doing much content lately, but hopefully on YouTube I'll have something soon. And I'll try to get back into streaming. It's just, I've been playing a lot of Warzone lately, so I don't know if LOR people really want to watch me play Warzone with my buds. Don't think it's relevant, and I don't think I'm going to get a big enough following on streaming it, so I might as well just have fun and play with my friends and not worry about my frame loss.
Yep. Gotta have a fun game. Myself, if anybody's interested in following me and you're not already a follower on Twitter, it is at Smithel Gaming. Twitch is going to be twitch.tv/Smithel. I also do not stream too terribly frequently on my personal account, but occasionally you'll see me get in, and it's more or less me just trying to...
Playing League, not even LOR.
I'll play a little bit of League with fellow Mobilytic partners. I'm trying to do a little bit of more LOR, but it's more or less me just trying the decks that are currently in meta. Like I said at the top of the show, I'm very much in the this deck looks fun, let me see how it plays type deal. And so I'll jump on for maybe an hour or two and just pilot a couple decks just to get a full better understanding of what's going on in the meta and try to keep up with what my opponents are playing. So you can catch me there. Obviously, if you want to follow the show, this is where most of our content is going to be. The Twitter is... Oh, Kozer's typing stuff. The Twitter is at Poro Weekly. Give us a follow there. That's where you're going to be able to find out when we're going live, doing things like this today. Going to be able to keep up with this, any future tournaments, any future, contests, anything like that we put on. Twitter is going to be the best place to figure out what's going on there. YouTube, just give us a search for the Weekly Poro Report. Again, that is weekly with an A, WEAKLY. All of the notes and everything like that, all the links are always going to be on the YouTube description for the video. So check that out. That way you can directly access everything that we talk about on this episode and any past or future episode. Twitch, obviously, there are people that have been watching us here tonight. Kage, we appreciate you being pretty active here in chat. Naidai, we appreciate him being a viewer of yours and coming over that way. So that's kind of great that, you brought some people here. Bonnier, obviously, one of our regulars is in. He was able to sit here and talk. So check us out on Twitch if you don't regularly. It's a good chance to interact with folks like Naidai, like Swim next week. If you have any questions for them, this is a good place to do it. If you are listening to this on iTunes, a positive review obviously is going to be greatly appreciated. Help us increase our visibility.
Actually, we hate it. Please don't do it.
Yeah,
I'm joking.
Yeah, so I mean, anything to help us keep the show growing. Obviously, this is our show as much as it is your show, guys. Anything you guys want to cover or talk about, just let us know. If you want us to bring on any guests or talk about any specific topics, by all means, let us know. We'll happily do that and discuss as much as we absolutely possibly can. But other than that,
especially with more and more, I think I'm going to try to be locking in the guests that we know for next week. So we're going to be doing a lot more shows with just mostly guests. You're not going to be seeing a lot of Smithel Kozer shows unless we can't find a guest or something falls through that week. But for Swim and Hype next week, if you guys have any questions for them, please ask away. You know how to reach us. We have multiple ways to get a hold of us, and we'll try to get them into the show and ask them away. Now, please, no copy pasta. Don't give us trolly stuff. We want real questions for them. They get trolled enough on their own Twitter accounts, or Twitch accounts, especially Swim. I see his whole chat is copy pasta, so please.
But with that again, Naidai again, thank you very much. It was a lot of fun. Hopefully, we get to have you back
for sure.
Any closing thoughts, either of you?
Well, I mean, right after this, I'll be kicking my stream back up. So
can
expect to
go check out the stream.
I'm gonna host you right after. I'm gonna teach Smithel how to do it. It's just you have to write in chat /host or /raid, and then we can raid Naidai right after we end the stream. Awesome, even though most of his viewers are gonna go anyways.
Gonna go right over there.
yeah, it's all good. But I think that's it. We can wrap it up, play the music, and upload the stuff.
Awesome. Well, hey guys, thanks, appreciate it, and everybody listening, stay healthy. We'll catch you guys next week.
You guys have a good night.
Goodbye.